Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think we're all set to start here. Vice Chair Liu, the Chair Benson isn't here yet, so if you want to take over with the meeting and get us started, that would be great.
Certainly. Okay. Okay, very good. Now I can see you and you can see me. Alrighty. I call to order the Sustainability Commission meeting for the City of Indio for May 23rd, 2022. Our next agenda item is a pledge of, I think, or is there,
I'll go ahead and call the roll call.
yeah, roll call. Yes.
Great. Chair Benson, absent. Vice Chair Liu.
Present.
Commissioner Romero.
Here.
Commissioner Tack, absent. Commissioner Patterson.
Here.
Okay. Alrighty. I think we can go ahead. Now we have the Pledge of Allegiance is the next item on our agenda. So I'll get us started. We have our flag up. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. With that, our meeting is in session, I believe. And our first item of decision is the minutes of April 25, 2022. Has everyone had, who wants to review it, had time to review it? If so, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve those minutes. Any concerns? Not sure who that was. I'll proceed if something is needed. Please speak up. So I move to approve the minutes of the meeting for April 2022. Does anyone second that?
I'll second that.
Alrighty. With that, the minutes are approved.
Okay.
And then our next agenda.
Wait, we didn't vote on it, did we?
Yeah, we need a vote.
Oh, we need a vote? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's go ahead and vote. My apologies. I broke protocol here. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and vote. Sorry.
Go ahead and do a roll call.
Yeah, so Commissioner Benson is absent. I as Vice Chair approve. Commissioner Romero.
Vote aye.
Aye, okay. Commissioner Tack.
He's absent.
Absent. Commissioner Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, we have 3 approvals. So that is sufficient for us to approve the minutes.
We also went past number 3, which is the public comments. So I just want to say for the no public comments tonight.
All right, so sorry, I skipped flipping back and forth. I skipped that one. Public comments, no public comments. Alrighty. And that moves us speedily along to our next agenda item, which is the benefits of a permanent household hazardous waste collection facility. And we have Lisa Thompson, who is the Environmental Compliance Manager for Riverside County Department of Waste Resources, scheduled to speak to that issue. So.
Hi everyone.
Okay.
Wanted to see if I can share my screen for presentation.
Wonderful. Go ahead, please.
So, I was asked to talk about what are some of the benefits in regards to our existing temporary events that we have in the city of Indio versus looking at a permanent facility. So some of the benefits to have a permanent facility, especially within a city, is, you do get your residents where there's going to be residents will have a facility to go to routinely, instead of having, a temporary day, 1 day or 2 days out of the year. They have to try to figure out, if they're available that day or not. So it does increase the services that we provide. It's much more convenient for your residents. It'll increase the number of availability throughout the year. So instead of 2 days a year for HSW services, you're looking at anywhere from 12 to 24 days a year, just depending on the needs of the city and the surrounding area. If it's, we would look at 1 day a month, and if there's a need for more than that, we could definitely evaluate it and look at that too. And it would be always on the same Saturday, at the same time. So there's some consistency there. Residents will know when to go and plan better and really just want to do the right thing. So you'll have fixed operating days and hours. So those are some of the benefits. In addition to that, there's, the city of Indio actually does a really good job of educating the residents. So this is an outlet that they can also utilize to educate your residents on HHW services or sustainability or even other programs. So it's having a permanent facility also, it's good for the community, it's good for the leaders of, and it minimizes how much hazardous waste people are storing at home. It can create issues with water issues, fire issues, a lot of environmental impacts when residents don't have an easy way of disposing of their hazardous waste. Many of them will store it at their home, and then it starts leaking or leaching into the soil, cause fires, things like that. It will also eliminate the temporary events, so we'll have some consistency there, and it'll help minimize that coordination that has to happen every time we have an event with the city of Indio. Once, there is a permanent facility, we do provide the city with all the data and the information that they want, but it's essentially almost hands off. The county pays for, the disposal, the handling, the contractor, the labor, everything that's involved with running and operating the facility. In addition to that, this is what I would look at also, the collection type. Right now, just in this past year, we had a few events within the city of Indio, and we had a participation. The annual participation was a little bit over 600 residents that participated. And you can see it, we do collect quite a bit of hazardous waste, propane cylinders, aerosols, flammable poisons, e-waste. We collect e-waste at these permanent facilities. Sharps and medication too. Those are, some of the big ones that we implemented a few years back also. In addition, so, the average annual hazardous waste that we collect from the city of Indio is a little bit over 38,000 pounds. With a permanent facility, we're looking at more waste being generated, collected, and disposed of, a lot more participation from the residents. So there's a huge increase in what our services are, what we're collecting from those residents, and how much of it. There's quite a bit of significant change in that. And it also will depend, if we go 1 to 2 days a month, it just really depends on that too. But overall, we should see the same consistency in the participation and the total average of collected by the second table on the right. That's what I'm estimating to see collect if we were to have a permanent facility in the city of Indio. Some of the benefits that we currently have, we have several permanent facilities already with agreements with other cities. We have agreement with the city of Lake Elsinore. We are currently in the final stages of finalizing an agreement with the city of Corona. They've already have property and are in the process of constructing a facility for us. So some of the benefits that we have at our permanent facilities is a material reuse program. And then we also provide services to the very small quantity generators. We can't have these kind of programs with temporary events. Only permanent facilities that we have actually have these programs. The Palm Springs is also another permanent facility that we have with the city. And, the residents really enjoy it. We get a lot of reusable material that's still in good quality. And so we'll pull those out and go through a QA/QC. And we actually then provide those reusable materials back to the residents. And residents come first thing on a Saturday morning, and they want to see what's in our reuse store. And they take advantage of that. And, the cost of paint nowadays is really expensive, and we have paint, good usable paint. We also have, propane cylinders, the small butane cylinders. We have a little bit of everything, cleaning products, everything that you can think of that people are dropping off. Many of these containers are still in really good, are good and usable, and they're almost full. So that's another program that's really good for the residents. We also have this very small quantity generator program. And again, that one's only for permanent facilities. So we provide services to businesses that qualify and meet the requirements for a very small quantity generator. So they can bring their hazardous waste to us by appointment and stuff like that. And we take their hazardous waste and we dispose of it, and we only charge them what it costs us. So it actually helps them save quite a bit of money instead of them hiring a contractor, hazardous waste contractor, to go out and take care of their hazardous waste. It's a lot more expensive that way. And we actually have this program at all of our permanent facilities. So as you see the drop and shop benefits, that's what we call our reuse program of hazardous materials. It's a drop and shop. So the community really enjoys it. They get quite a bit of good material. It's environmentally friendly. The material that we collect, it gets reused for its intended purpose instead of getting disposed of and incinerated and things like that. So one of the biggest benefits for us for that too is also it decreases our disposal cost. So the more we can, pull out that is good usable material and reused by the residents, we save on disposal cost. The drop and shop, again, this is kind of what we would expect at the Indio facility, just with latex and oil-based paint and other reusable materials. We're looking at close to 6,000 pounds of reusable material that goes through the drop and shop that we would expect. This is the same kind of program that we would want to implement if there was a permanent facility in Indio. this is the savings that we would see. The very small quantity generator kind of touched on that too. Again, it's business friendly and provides community services, and it reduces illegal dumping from many of the small businesses that, you know, it just gets too costly for them. And what they want to do is just dump it on the side of the road somewhere. And the way we save money is because we're consolidating all of their hazardous waste. So all these small businesses, we consolidate their waste, and that's how we're able to reduce the cost to them. And we're only charging them the cost, what our cost is. You know, if the city is wanting to look at this and more seriously and you know, look at some locations, we definitely want to make sure that we're looking at, you know, space. Is it large enough to handle the traffic flow? I would say at least an acre of property is recommended. And also we want to look at the adjacent businesses and properties and making sure that they're, you know, that they're not be affected or impacted by our operations. And we look at traffic pattern and the site layout itself. And we would work very closely with the city to identify that and discuss any concerns and things like that. And just so you guys can see what our Palm Springs facility looks like, it's really simple. It's not a lot. You know, it has a metal cover, and next to it, this is a better picture. We have a couple of portable chemical storage containers, a portable supply shed, and you know, on this side, I don't have a picture, but this is where we constructed the drop-in shop, and we have this is where our drop-in shop is. It's not in this picture, I'd have to update it, but, and residents walk up here and then they come straight into the little store and they take whatever they want. It's really simple. What we do is have like a U shape. So residents come in here and they stop here. This is where we do all the unloading. Residents stay inside their vehicle the entire time, and we take everything, and then, you know, they drive off. So what we look at is a fence and a roof, so that we can operate during inclement weather. Our workers have to wear Tyvek suits, so we also want to protect them from the heat, and so that cover helps a lot. Also want to protect them from the rain, and also be able to continue with the operations during the rain. We do ask that the concrete is permanently sealed so that if there are spills, you know, it is contained. During the operations, we do cover the entire work area with visqueen. So we do protect the concrete, but in case, you know, an unplanned situation. And as you can see, the chemical storage bins, those are portable, and just an unloading area, because we do have a semi truck that comes in at our facilities, our permanent facilities, and they load everything up. And it's once or twice a month. It just depends on how busy the facility is. So the road itself has to be big enough for a semi truck. One of the things that we would look for the city is, you know, to help, the city would construct the facility and cover the construction costs. But again, there are grant grants out there, and we could do a regional grant, and they can go up to $500,000 that we can get to help with the cost of the construction, anywhere from $250 to $500,000. So just depends on how we apply for those grants. And we would like identify the potential city-owned properties for the county to review, just so that we are on the same page on if the property is going to work or not. And of course, long-term commitment. You know, we're all putting a lot in we're both the city and the county are doing are investing quite a bit. So we want a long-term commitment with the city. And the county's commitment would be, we would fund all the equipment that's needed, operating and disposal cost. We would take care of all the contract negotiations with the contractor, go through the RFP process, obtain all the permits that are required, and again, long-term commitment. So we would also look at purchasing some of that equipment, just depending on some of our facilities that are permanent facilities that we have agreements with other cities. We've committed to purchasing the chemical storage bins. We've committed to purchase the supply shed, anything underneath the canopy, the cover. We've committed to purchase those items. And really the actual structure, the cover, the asphalt, the road would be, and the electrical and water would be the city's responsibility, and everything else would be our responsibility. Do you guys have any questions?
I guess I'm not sure. I guess I'll start with a couple of questions that I have based on your presentation, and thank you for providing that. It's a really good presentation, very thorough. I guess my first question, when it comes to staffing, I think you mentioned earlier it'll be county staff, or will the city also be responsibility for the staffing of the facility?
No, and it would only be county and our contractor. Now, you guys are more than welcome to have city staff there if you want to utilize this as an educational component, or you want to hand out things, or but it's not necessary. At all of our permanent facilities that we have with other cities, we don't have city staff on site.
And as far as the construction for a similar facility, let's say the Palm Springs one, do you have an estimate as to what that cost would look like? I know you said that there was grants that should be able to cover most of it, but I wanted to get an idea of what that cost is. Yeah, so it really will depend on, how extravagant we want to go into a facility. But really, we're looking at a cover, which can be anywhere from $300,000 probably. I don't know. It just depends on the also your planning, the city planning, and then the asphalt and concrete and electrical and water. But we, right now everything is so expensive that I would say at least $1 million would be, I would look at least at a 700 at $1 million. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Next question, on your county commitment, you say you would, the county would obtain all required permits. Would that also include the permits for any environmental review for the land? Let's say NEPA, CEQA, if any of that is necessary? So it just really depends. We could do it. And then we would want to take the lead on the grant, or the city can do it. And it might be easier since you guys are city, and to work directly with your planning department. Gotcha. But it just really depends
how you want to approach it. But we could do it, or you guys can do it.
And I think this will be my last question. For the small quantities, you mentioned there was a cost associated with it. Is there also a cost associated with regular disposal from households of some of the other materials, let's say tires, paint, and things along those lines?
So we don't take tires,
Okay.
but I'll give you kind of a random list here, the things we do take. Everything that we take from residents, it's free to the residents.
Okay.
So there is no cost. If it's a small quantity generator, then there's that cost, whatever the cost is to us. We have to pass it to them.
Sounds good. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Commissioner Patterson, any comments, questions?
Yeah, I guess it sounds like something that would be helpful to the community. And I imagine that if the city council were going to approve something like this, they would want a staff report with an estimate of all the costs and some kind of concrete plans. Sarah, are we considering recommending this to the city council?
Well, ultimately, that would be up to all of you. I think that if you would like to move it further and then consider a recommendation, then the next steps would be to look and see where areas might be and start there. That'll help us determine a lot of the cost, depending on where that is and how remote it is or not remote it is. And that would be essentially the next step.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend.
As far as a good location?
Yeah, I would recommend identifying the location because like Sarah said, that's gonna have impact on the cost itself.
Do we have any area that you can think of, Sarah, that would be a good location?
I have not looked at this point, and I will say that we get probably more calls about trying to dispose of some form of HHW than anything else. So I think it's worthwhile looking into. I have not yet, but again, that's up to you. If you want to take that next step, then I'm happy to work with some of the folks here and see where there might be current zoning areas that we might look at, or just more specifically talk to planning and see if there's places we can identify that are at least potential now.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Romero has his hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yes. I guess back for Ms. Thompson, what would the procedure look like from the county standpoint? Would this need to be in front of the Board of Supervisors for them to also approve this facility? How would that work?
Yeah, so we would go in front of the Board of Supervisors for approval.
So essentially India would come up with the plan first, and then that plan would go in front of the Board of Supervisors, I would assume?
Yeah, so what we would do is I would work directly, either myself or some of my staff, work directly with the City of Indio and come up with an agreement. Once we have an agreement in place, then we would then go to the board to have that agreement signed.
So I definitely think there is a need for a facility like this that's able to help our residents properly dispose of some of the materials that might otherwise contaminate our environment or just cause clutter in households. So I think there's definitely merit to this. I want to say, I would like to see further talks, further discussions on this, and also definitely recommend looking at city-owned land already to try to bring that cost down, because we all know how expensive some of the real estate market is currently. So if there's any city-owned land or facilities that may even be able to be repurposed for this purpose, I think that would be really beneficial. And once we have Commissioner Benson intact, further discussion into what direction we want to go.
Yeah, and there's, there's different ways of approaching this type of facility. With the city of Palm Springs, we did a regional HHW grant application. So that allowed us to apply for up to $500,000. The county became the lead on that grant. And we were able to cover, so the city's, quite a bit of that construction. And then we also committed to paying certain things ourselves, the county, and in addition to what was already covered in the grant, spelled out in the grant. And then we also have different where the city can apply for their own grant up to $250,000, and you choose how you want to, of course, that'll go directly to the construction of the facility. So we have those kind of options. We also have another facility at Lake Elsinore, which it's really simple. Just a cover, a chemical storage bin, an above ground tank. We have electrical and water for our eye wash station and emergency eye wash and shower, things like that. And that's a much more simpler facility too. So again, it doesn't have to be this huge extravagant facility. It just really depends on, that it has to work with the traffic flow. It has to be safe to operate, and we have to have room to operate and handle all the waste that's coming in. Other than that, and just having a cover. Now, it doesn't have to be this huge metal cover. I know City of Lake Elsinore has the kind of the ones that you see at the parks with the playgrounds and stuff like that. So that works too.
And when you say regional application, is that multiple cities applying together, or how does that work?
So it's the city and a county applying together. So it'll be the city and the county. That makes it regional versus just the city applying for themselves. Then you can only apply for $250,000. But if it's two different jurisdictions, you have the county applying and the city applying together, then now you've doubled the amount that you can apply for in a grant, for a construction grant.
If that were to be added on, let's say La Quinta or Coachella or another city is interested in partnering, would there be any more funding available through that route?
Not through the grant, but you can definitely, have an agreement with those cities to pay off some of the cost or cover some of the cost.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. Hopefully, I said that earlier, and I had a few more for you. So
okay, yeah, no, that's you gotta have good questions.
I have two quick questions. One is procedural. The next one is in terms of scheduling. In terms of scheduling, I'm not sure if the slide is showing. Is there a slide showing on scheduling? Can we flip to that, or?
Scheduling?
Yeah, for moving this forward.
I'm sorry.
I did not catch that, the dates or preferred timeline, because I'm assuming the grant has a window, right?
So there's a grant every year. So every year there's a new grants that come out. You have a construction grant, and then you have a small project grant. So it's every year that these are become available, and we apply. And right now what I'm seeing is that there's not a lot of jurisdictions that are applying for the construction grants because they don't have the funding, or there's no need for them to have a permanent. They may already have a permanent facility, but I'm noticing that there's not a lot of applications going in for construction grants right now. So we would have a really good chance over the next few years, I believe, And again, every year they come out with a construction grant. So if you don't get it this year, chances are you can get it next year. You know.
So what is the deadline for this year, please?
So right now they have not come out with the new grant. We do have our meeting next month, and that's when they're going to provide us with those deadlines. It's normally when they do.
All right. And then on my second, and I will say my initial thoughts on it, it sounded like, you know, I was thinking of it first in the context of what we're doing, which is towards sustainability and what have you, but the waste is being generated and it's not a disposal facility, it's a collection facility. So it's just a point of collection to move it out of the area. And that's obviously what we want to do. We don't want to find it in some open lot somewhere. So in that sense, because it's a collection facility, you know, we need to, I mean, to me, that's far easier to convince folks of, including myself. But I mean, ultimately, it has to be disposed of somewhere, which is a whole nother thing. I'm assuming this will be the same disposal locations, which are currently, I don't know if you know that information, where's the final disposal location right now?
Our final disposal location, is that what you want to know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we contract right now with Clean Harbors.
Yeah.
Most of the waste that we collect is incinerated through either it's stabilized and incinerated. For example, our poisons, our flammables, our corrosives are different. Most of those are incinerated and used as fuel. And then you have like your used oil that's reused, batteries are reused, or, you know, they're recycled.
Right.
Sharps go through a treatment facility. Most of the incinerators for hazardous waste are out of California. We don't have any in California.
Right. I was trying to think of where Clean Harbors is, and I actually don't know. I know Veolia is in Sauget, Illinois, but I don't know where Clean Harbors is. Well, anyway, or at least that's what I believe. The next question is procedural, and that's for Sarah. If we as a Sustainability Commission were recommending this to City Council or some other group within our review process for the city, what is the traditional format? How do we traditionally go about that, please?
Well, once we first found a location, or what we want to do is basically build the story and get as much of the answers that they're most likely to ask as far as we can guess, get all of that information. How much will it cost? Where could it go? Are there issues? We'd also want to work with the county to make sure that they are supportive with us, and ultimately build not a story, but the logic to all of it. And so that we can paint the recommendation and ask for approval and be able to show why. And then ultimately we would make a staff report and send the recommendation to council. That part's fairly simple. It's really the background work to get it to a point where it's a good recommendation with solid background, solid reasons, and detailed information.
Okay, so with that, I will say that, would it be appropriate to say that we will wait for you? Well, let's perhaps we could get an opinion from the commissioners on whether this is something that they even want to take the time to review, or if they just like that to pass through the next body. So Commissioner Patterson, do you think it's worth taking the time to review, please?
Yeah, I think that it's an important program for the city to offer to residents to avoid having these types of materials, illegally dumped. It allows for their possible recycling. I think it's an important program. I guess the only other one is in Palm Springs, which is clear on the other side of the Coachella Valley. So I think it would be worthwhile to take whatever next steps staff thinks should be taken in order to get it moving forward. I'm not sure if that is a recommendation to the city council or staff developing information and then report back to us later, but whatever the appropriate procedure is, I think we should, it would be my preference that we would move forward with that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Romero, is this something that you would like to review for our commission to review?
Absolutely. I think this, again, just echoing off of what Commissioner Patterson said, will be a program of great benefit that will help reduce illegal dumping and other just clutter that's happening in our community and make sure that things are being disposed of in an environmentally friendly and safe manner. So I think it would be very beneficial for us to look into this and create a good proposal that when it gets to council, we'll have a lot of the answers they're going to be looking for. The cause, is there a possibility to partner with some of the surrounding cities? Because I think it's pretty fair to say that it won't just be Indio residents using this facility, it'll be others from around the community as well. So I want to make sure that we look into that if it's possible. And if not, I don't think that's a non-starter either. I think it's of merit for us to undertake this even as a city by ourselves, of course, with the county support. But I think it's really important that we do get some of those questions answered and bring this back as a voting item that we can then send over to council for further review. Would this have? I'd probably have to go to the planning commission first at some point, right? I don't know how that would go since we are talking about building a facility. I guess maybe the council would approve the proposal first, and then the building. We'll figure those logistics out, I'm sure.
Okay. Alrighty, so and I concur with Commissioner Patterson and Romero. So if we do not have any objections from our commissioners who are absent, Sarah, I would ask you to put this on your list to kind of give us a hint, including the commissioners who are not here today, on next steps that we should take. And Lisa, I thank you so very much, or we thank you so very much rather, for taking the time to present this project to the commission and to the public. Hopefully there are public members watching that will review this information. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, and then if you guys have more questions for me, please feel free. Sarah has my contact information, and definitely I'm here to provide any guidance that you guys, or any additional answers some of your questions. But I would say the primary thing would be to look at is there property that you guys have, and then go from there.
Alrighty, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Our next agenda item is grants, and we have Ms. Sandy Stone, Director, and Kristen Clark, BA Grant Services and BA Grant Services and Software will give updates on the city's grants application for Transformative Climate Communities Grant and the Active Transportation Program. We did take a little bit of time reviewing the last item, so we have 15 minutes left, if that much, or like 13 minutes left to cover 2 items. So folks, can you just go ahead, please?
Sure, absolutely. I'm
Thank you.
Kristen. I'm an associate with Blaze and Associates, and we work with the city on different grant writing. We actually, I was speaking with you back, I believe, in January about the Clean California grant that we were successful in getting for Jackson Street, which is for street improvements and street art and things of that sort. And so the ATP is the Active Transportation Program, and TCC is the Transformative Climate Communities Project. And that is from California Strategic Growth Council. So I don't know how many of you have been involved or maybe paying attention previously to some other grant applications that were submitted. But a few years ago, there was an urban greening application that was submitted for the Jewel community, which is what we're going to be focusing on actually for both of these grant applications. So that urban greening application was not successful. So what we're going to do is take recommendations from that and put forth an ATP. So it's a Caltrans program, active transportation program. And it's really to bring more opportunity for active participation, for replacing sidewalks, for putting in bike lanes and things of that sort, providing connection to the Indio Sports Park that's in the neighborhood, and just enabling people to get around more safely, putting trees in so that it's not so hot on the streets. So that's what ATP is. That application is due on June 15th. And then the next project that we're doing, or the next proposal, is quite a bit larger. So ATP is going to be very large as well. That's a $7 million request that we're putting in. The Transformative Climate Communities, though, is a $35 million proposal that requires match on the part of the community. And the Strategic Growth Council is really looking to empower communities that are most impacted by pollution to choose their own goals, strategies, and projects to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and local air pollution. And so again, it focuses on the neighborhoods and census tracts that really are the neediest and the most disadvantaged for a variety of reasons. And so again, this is looking at the census tract that the Jewel community is in. It's sort of it's a historically disinvested community, kind of sandwiched in between the Stormwater Channel and I-10 and the Union Pacific Railroad tracks. And so it's just isolated and cut off even from, being able to easily get locally sourced food, having safe walking and biking and green spaces. And so the idea behind this Transformative Climate Communities is to bring together community groups, to bring the community together itself, and really think about what are the projects and programs that the residents want, that activists and people engaged with nonprofits in the area want. And so we've been working a little while with a group to come up with a list of projects that are focused on a few different strategies. So it's, again, more active transportation, street improvements, LED lighting for the neighborhood, signage replacement, and again, some of these complete streets and putting in bike paths and things of that sort. There's urban greening. And so the Indio Sports Park phase 1 that was approved recently, as well as phase 2, putting in some community gardens, residential tree planting. And then also there's going to be one of the strategies that they're really looking at also is solar installation, energy efficiency, and appliance electrification. And so this is going to be for the individual homes within the neighborhood. There will be programs available for home weathering and maintenance, water efficiency, utilizing the county's appliance rebate program, solar installation. So there's just a lot of really great things. And the idea is to not to sort of sprinkle all over the city, but to really focus so that you'll be able to see how these changes really are transforming that neighborhood. And so it's a really exciting project. Sarah has been involved with it for quite a while. And so we're bringing together partners actually this week to talk about some of the different projects and programs that are available. There was a outreach program for the residents. So there's just a lot of really exciting things going on. And that's just talking about the 2 grant programs. I'm happy to answer any questions or if you have any input. Sarah, if I missed anything, feel free to jump in as well.
Thanks. I think you covered a great deal of it. It's huge. There's a lot of moving parts to it.
Any comments from the commissioners? I'll just say that I attended the public outreach, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, and it was pretty interesting. It was a really good presentation, and I think attending those, that is perhaps one of the best ways to engage folks. I didn't want to disrupt the meeting by or sideline the meeting, but it just sitting there, it told me that really the outreach is going to have to involve getting out to those meetings. We cannot really wait for them to come to us. Commissioner Romero, any comments?
Yeah, this all sounds like great work that's being done. I believe a few communities like Coachella Valley have received similar funding from these grant programs before, or at the very least applied, and you can see what big of a change this type of funding can do to an area. So really excited and really hopeful that we can get some of this down in the Jewel community. I guess a specific question, and I'll be curious to see some of the more detailed projects that are undertaken. But as far as street improvements goes, I know that one of the beneficial improvement that can be done for greenhouse gas reduction, traffic mobility, and pedestrian safety is roundabouts. Do you know if any of this, if that's been discussed at all in this grant application yet? Is implementing? I don't think the city has any on any public streets yet. Maybe on some private, but I don't believe our city's gone that direction just yet. So I'd be curious to see if this is one of those opportunities where we can implement that.
It's possible that I don't know that that's been part of the conversation just yet, but it's definitely something I think that's possible that could be explored, but I don't know that that's been part of the conversation yet. What do you think, Sarah?
No, that really hasn't come up at all yet. We've been more looking at sidewalks, active transportation, and things like that. Not yet really traffic calming, but it is something we can bring up.
Well, very excited to see where this conversation goes, and I'm hoping that we'll be successful in this grant application. And to Kristen and your team, thank you also for the work that you did on the earlier Clean California grants, getting that money down to the city.
Yay, so exciting, isn't it? I mean, it's $5 million. Yeah. And there was no match, so that's also exciting.
Commissioner Patterson, any comments before we conclude with this item?
Sounds like a great project, and I look forward to hearing more about it in the future. I hope it's successful.
Thank you.
Okay, great. One of the things that I noted was that the public there, and it's entirely understandable, their comments and concerns were regarding unhoused folks and housing. And I think we touched on at the last minute housing. Well, at the meeting, someone did point out that we have a really good housing element, I guess, in the general plan or somewhere like that. But that, you know, if you regardless of how many millions are put in the community, that is a core issue that needs to, the residents are going to want addressed. And I don't know that we were able to come up, anyone was able to offer solution at the meeting, but that's a big one to chew on. Commissioner Romero?
To that point that you're making about housing, I know that one of the criteria the state's looking for with other plans such as the sustainable SSCH, can't think of it off the top of my head, but the Strategic Growth Council's Sustainable Housing Communities grant, that they're looking for walkability. So if this grant can help improve the walkability in that region, it may also help improve the possibility to create future opportunities for funding for affordable housing. Because one of the key criteria they're looking at is how walkable an area is in terms of where they want to put affordable housing going forward.
Okay, great. Well, we have 2 minutes left. I thank Kristen for your presentation. Sarah, it's over to you. Do we have enough time to cover the final agenda item, plus our comments, your staff report, and adjourn?
Sure. I'll just say that it's approved. City Council approved it, and we can move forward with the work plan.
Okay, very good. Commissioner comments, any comments on the work plan or any other comments before we close the meeting? Commissioner Patterson?
Nothing right now.
All righty, Commissioner Romero?
I think great meeting.
All righty. And no comments, other comments from me. Any staff items, Sarah, that we need to make note of, please?
No comments.
All righty. Well, with that, in short order, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting for today, May 23rd, 2022?
A motion.
All righty. Is there a second?
I'm not sure who's moving it, but I'll second it.
All
I'm
right,
not the one.
wonderful.
We'll call it Commissioner Patterson moved.
All righty. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, I would say aye. I'm the final person. Anyone? No one opposed? Okay, thanks everyone. The next meeting is June 27th. We will log on. Thanks, Sarah, for the wonderful work. Just absolutely great. Please keep going.
Thank you, everyone.